Good day, everybody. This is your host, Robert Heap, and welcome to Citizens View. This show is brought to you by NWIEducate.com. Today's guest is, as you know, our everyday American hostess, hostess for the mostest. We have Bianca Guerrero.
Hi.
Welcome. How
Hi.
are you?
I'm good, and you?
Good. Thank you for joining the show today. This is going to be a pretty heated show. I love it. It's going to be it's all in fun, though. It's not going to be seriously heated. But we're going to be talking about everything from the homeless, the military, and even going into a hot subject called Puerto Rico. Dun, dun, dun. So let's get right into it. Let's not waste another day. Let's just say, let's talk about homeless. So let's get into it. Well, you know, obviously the homeless is a major issue that affects every state in the union, regardless of where you're located, every U.S. territory.
Mm-hmm. And it's running rampant.
And it is running rampant. I mean, so what are some of the causal effects? Well, I spoke with the director, Karen Hill of Marion County for Florida, of the homeless, and she defines, you know, the homeless as not somebody who does not have a home, because some people have, if you're a person who has no home but you're staying with your sister, you're not classified as homeless. It's people who are literally have no place to go. You are literally on the street.
Nothing, no resources, nothing.
Absolutely nothing. That's right. And, you know, that's the definition of homeless. So we're in a society where, as an economist, I can state that we have a situation where the economic gap between rich and poor has never been greater in the history of the United States as it is today. We've used to be in the mid 70s and early 80s, we used to have a 72-73% middle class. Middle class comes from economic bubbles that create excess spending values, or excess cash, or liquidity, if you will, in an individual's hands to spend, and that usually comes from the middle class benefiting financially from certain transactions, and that's called an economic bubble. The lack of this bubble, as this bubble shrinks or disintegrates, it creates a gap between the poor and the rich. And today, according to whatever study you want to read, the range is between 26 and 30% middle class versus 73% just a few decades ago. Most of that we've lost since the housing collapse of 2008. And so now that kind of leads into why, you know, homeless, we're talking about people buying homes that really couldn't afford them, simply because they were doing subprime loans.
It's still happening, though.
Still happening.
It's still happening.
Because
it
always reverts.
Getting into it.
Yeah, always reverts back to, like we talked about earlier. Mm-hmm. And it causes the homelessness. And so now a person who had a job, not really a good job, but had a job, had a mortgage, lost everything, now is on the streets being homeless. The gap between rich and poor,
it gets wider.
It gets wider, and you're talking about job opportunities. Yeah, they're there, but they're not higher income like they were. They're not manufacturing jobs. They're not unionized jobs. They're not jobs with benefits. You're getting $5 an hour, whatever the minimum wage is. Forgive me, guys, and I'm sure it's not $5.
Something.
It's $8 an hour, $8.05 an hour, something like that. And that's hard to make a living on. You know, considering the poverty rate is $10 to $12 an hour, is below poverty in America. So we have to talk about this. So, you know, when we're going into it, I wanted to give the preface, and it was winded, but I want you to understand why, what are some of the causal variables that cause homelessness in today? Why are we having more experiences with homeless people today than ever before? And this is why. You know, you have mental issues, economic issues, you have drug abuse, substance abuse of any kind.
Substance abuse
puts them on the streets.
It's ridiculous.
So when you have that kind of eclectic, how do you solve it? Okay?
I don't know how
Bianca,
you solve it.
tell me the solution. No, unacceptable.
I have all the answers, right?
Tell me the answers. Wave your magic wand.
There is no magic wand. See, that's the thing. Okay, so nobody wants to deal with the homeless. Mm-hmm. Nobody wants to deal with the homeless. When they fund it, there is no impact. I don't know if it's government funded, if it's privately funded. You don't see a change because, like, I work in the downtown and in the downtown area in our town, and mm-hmm. It's bad. It's really bad. It seems like the city is trying to make it nice and pretty, and you know, they repave the same street over again. They're bringing in nice hotels, banks. But why? When you have homeless running around in that same area, and of course, and it's sad because with homeless, unfortunately, comes crime. Because, I mean, they're hungry. They need money. They need funds. They need to live, basically. And it's really, really bad. I have no idea how to solve it.
Well, I mean, there are some pretty unique and creative solutions out there to help the homeless.
There are, but people don't. Where? How do you access it? People aren't aware of it.
Well,
you know?
the problem isn't the homeless. Some of the solutions are coming from private individuals. The problem is the government. The government system that's in place right now to manage the homeless, everybody is in a cookie cutter type mindset. We have a bunch of friends, doctors that do grants, and we have a bunch of other people that try to do help grants, like Deliverance Outreach Ministries.
So wait,
and stuff.
meaning if you fit a criteria, you can only qualify for this, and if you don't fit in there, then
Well, let's use some examples. Let's use my daughter. I do okay as an individual, financially speaking. My daughter does not run off my money. She's in her late 20s, early 30s. And she went down to, her husband at one point in time in their life, they have 3 children now, but they only had 2 at the time. And she went down to get some assistance for food stamps. The lady, and I quote, I wish I could have got this on recording. I quote, "Go have another kid. Your husband makes too much money."
I've heard this.
So the system is not in place to be productive. The system is not in place to aid or assist or actually improve anything. Its system is in place to maintain status quo. So when you're talking about homeless programs and to help the homeless, somebody who presents a creative new solution that might help and might cut costs. Let's just say that there are homeless communities that they want to create, like a little isolated farm colony, where they have the homeless live on a farm like atmosphere, where they grow their own food. They harvest their own fruits and vegetables organically, and they can sell off that food to the schools, all the other food, so they're working, they're earning trades, they have counselors and therapists on site to train, they have a place to live, they have plenty of the food to have, and they're learning new skills. Well, there are many, these are the new solutions that they have. They are out there now, but they're not plentiful because the government doesn't want to fund it because it only costs 25% of what they're actually paying right now that does nothing. So a farm might cost $1 million, but they're putting $10 million into useless programs.
Wait, that doesn't make sense.
Exactly. So call your congressman and tell him that. No, because that's the kind of environment that we see every single day in every facet of programming when it comes to the government. At the end of the year, fire departments, police departments have budgets, right?
I understand, and I hate
same
that they
thing
have to.
It's the same exact program, though.
Right, but the thing is that they're spending the budget to make it higher for the next year, but they're spending it on what? That's
Exactly.
the thing.
I have a local fire department from the town I'm from.
Okay.
All right, there's a small town of 5,000 people. We literally have to pull 6 to 7 towns together to create one high school in my old area. We have a fire department that calls out 3 times a year on fire, right? On a fire. They call out most or other things, but fire is 3 times a year. So instead of losing their budget, they have a fire department of 20 people with 7 fire trucks, each one of them costing $250,000,
You see what I mean?
And I have a police department in Fairfield, Maine. Fairfield, Maine's 5,000 people with 27 police detectives, because
Okay, so instead,
with a crime rate of less than 1%.
Why not omit the 7 engines and
Welcome to politics.
So politics doesn't work for the regular Joe.
No, it does not. The only thing politics works for is the politician.
Okay, so
It's
just
interesting,
running around,
and everybody knows it's true because everybody's had their own little taste. Everybody's had a taste of politics. Everybody's had a taste of bureaucracy. Mm-hmm. Why do prisoners in prison get Social Security?
They do.
Yeah, it costs an average Some people will apply, not everybody. But I'm just saying that right now it costs you and me, the taxpayer, between $30,000 and $100,000 a year per inmate. And that's if $30,000. That's only if they didn't have any medical problems. If they have any medicines or anything else, it costs much more. And it costs more to us to give them medication than it would for you and I, because they have to farm out. There's a whole process to that. So when we're talking about the homeless programs, you and I could come up with a solution like these farms that only cost 25% of what the average budget is for the homeless. Because right now they're just funding the same programs. They fund the homeless shelters. They fund the food banks. Well, food banks have their own problems. Food banks are great-hearted individual programs, but the problem is that They only give the food. They donate. Most people donate expired food. 30% of all the
This
food
is
that's
true.
donated,
This
they
is
can't.
very true.
Yeah, 30% of the
It's
food
not
is
even edible.
it's not even edible.
No, it's not.
And then you need food storage. You need refrigeration units. These things are all cost money. Power bills. You need physical labor to sort the food, hand out the food. There's a million logistical issues with this program, but everybody, the average individual, just says, "Oh, I donated 4 cans of 5-year-old corn. Oh, I feel so special. I feel so good. I did such a good. I donate 19 cents a day, and I saved that kid in Africa. He's going to college because of me. He's going to Harvard for my 19 cents a day. I feel so good." That's an average American.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the problem with the problem. Like you said perfectly before, nobody wants to look at the problem. Nobody wants to see what's going on.
No,
They
not
they
at
just
all.
want to say, "Here, I just funded this. Here's my half a bottle of water. Enjoy your day. Get out of my face." You know, they don't want to address issues, and we have major issues in America.
Well, see, and the thing is,
In every country, not just America. But.
supposedly there is a budget for homeless housing and all. Okay, so the only homeless housing that I know in our county is the Salvation Army. And I've had experience with that because of work. We send people there for that. But the thing is that it gets packed. Especially
waiting
when when it gets cold. You can't even get in there. So they're literally having tents out.
That's right.
And then they get arrested for having the tents in a public place.
Don't forget now, there's Section 8 housing too.
Section 8 housing is like a 3-year wait,
Minimum.
I think.
Yeah,
or
it's
5-year wait.
Could be 3 to
or
5.
something.
Yeah, and that's on top of the other stuff. And the reason for that is there's no benefit. So let's go back because I'm an analyst. So let's look at statistics.
Okay.
All right, let's look at Pennsylvania. No, let's say Boston. Let's look at Boston.
Boston.
We get in the car to go to the bar to get a beer up in Boston. Boston did a study. All counties, or every city did a study, but let's just say Boston. Boston did a study on all. They have these big 10-story Section 8 housing, low-income housing developments. The projects, if you will.
Yeah, but it's terrible.
It's terrible. Yeah. So they spent $20 million going through, literally, it was probably a little bit more than that, repainting, redesigning, landscaping, everything, these projects to make them beautiful again. Within 1 year, they're back to where it was.
Of course.
So tens of millions of dollars wasted. And we have to ask ourselves why. Why is that? Because it's the mindset of the individual. The individual saw the better paint, the better landscaping, and they said, "I don't deserve this. I'm low income. I'm low.
But not
I'm
all.
homeless." Nobody says
Not
there's no all.
Yeah.
Nobody said
Okay.
all.
Okay.
Because if like we always talk about, there's good and bad in every subject. There's good and bad in police. There's good and bad doctors, lawyers, Indian chiefs, you name it.
Right.
There's good and bad in everything.
I know what you're getting at. You're gonna say that. Well, I think I know what you're getting at.
What am I getting at?
Like-minded minds gather.
That's
you know.
right. That's
and
right.
it's-
What you feed grows.
Yeah, I
What you
understand,
feed grows.
but
So if you're feeding the negative grows. If we're feeding a system, if you and me, the taxpayers, don't stand up and say enough's enough, this is inefficient, nobody wants to do that because the average individual gets up and does the bare minimum they have to do each and every day. They don't want to think about these key things. That's a perfect example. Talk about gun control. Every time something happens with guns, what do people want to do?
take them away.
They want to take them away. Guns have been
Immediately.
around since the dawn of our country. Guns have been easily accessible since the dawn of our country. So we always go to what the least, I can almost forecast. If people think I'm psychic because I can automatically tell you what you're going to do, because the average individual acts with emotion without the benefit of intellect because they don't want to think about it. Unfortunately, I have a curse. I'm a thinker.
All right, so what you're saying is that
What am I saying?
the average person wants to help the homeless, but ignores, flips a bird, huh?
Yeah. The average person everybody wants something, everybody wants to feel good. Everybody wants to
See,
do good.
and if you hear it sometimes, okay, so I did hear an interview with this homeless gentleman, and he said people think that just because you give me a 20, I'm set for life. You can just
If
walk
that was
away.
the case, just give me a 20.
No, but I mean, and the average person thinks, because $20 is a lot. You can do that's a quarter.
Wait a minute.
Tank
Wait a
of
minute.
gas.
Let's put a pause there. We got to talk after the show. She thinks $20 is a lot of money.
Well, I'm saying to give away the average I mean, come on. I don't have $20 in my wallet right now.
Okay. All right.
And so $20 to give to a homeless person may seem like a lot. Normally, when people give, it's $1 or $2, $5 the most, but $20 is a lot. And then for you to hear it coming from a homeless person, that's nothing. That's maybe a meal, some socks. That's it. You can't
Okay,
even
so why
get
not
a
give
hotel-
them a meal or socks?
Right. I understand. Yeah. See, but that's where we go back to the stupid funding.
but and that's my whole point. It's about, we have to, let's boil it down to basics, because it gets so complicated. These are major issues.
Yeah.
They get them, everybody wants a simple solution. So I'm going to give you a simple solution. It's your mindset. The problems that we have today are because of the way we
So
think.
wait, you're saying if we provide like counseling or training, like
If we start to get to the root of why an individual's homeless, because if you take 10 homeless people, most of the time there's going to be different causes, obviously, for
Right,
everything.
yeah, of course.
So why are we everybody wants to put everybody in a number one with a Coke Supersize Me. All of these homeless people are homeless because they're homeless. They're not saying, okay, well, this is John, and John's homeless because his family abandoned him, or he had a drug issue.
Right.
This
There's
is
always
Susie
a story
Q.
behind
That's
it.
right. We have to identify, we have to have the key variables. As
But
to
see,
what
nobody
causes
wants to hear the sob
Exactly.
story. That's the thing.
It's not about the sob story. It's about the identifiers of why. If I know that John has, his story is his story and it's important, but his story is, all I need to hear is, oh, he's got a drug addiction. His story is great, but now we know where to put him to help him.
Right.
Because I can't help John unless I know what his root causes are. I can't help Susie unless I knew what Susie's going. Instead of me trying, the reason that we're failing so miserably is we want to put them all into a number one, supersize you, and hey, I'll throw in a Coke with it.
Okay, so, but just to put it out there,
Mm-hmm.
there are a lot of mental health places that are accessible for. But
If you have a mental health issue, are you going to check yourself into a mental health place?
no, not necessarily. Well, I guess I'm speaking.
If you're a
of
drug addict and you love being high, you're going to go check yourself into a rehab? You don't check yourself into
If
a
you
rehab.
OD, I think you should be the.
If you OD, first things first, you got to live through that.
Well,
You OD.
a lot. Have you heard about the person that was revived 3 times, OD 3 separate times in a 24-hour period, and where they were revived?
See,
and
we
I
have a
mean,
word for that. Stupid. we can cure ignorance, because ignorance is an absence of knowledge. But stupid is just doing the same thing over and over again, having all the information. And we can help ignorance, because we all have ignorance in everything. I'm not perfect at everything. We have ignorance. But when you're doing something over and over again and you're expecting different results, that's stupid.
Of course, but understand.
So the guy OD 3 times. The only thing I
I
can
don't
say,
even know how that's
heaven
physically
forbid,
possible.
give him another dose. Because he's just not going to learn if you do it
Well,
3
see,
times.
and that's the thing. I actually spoke to.
You're going to really burn tax dollars for that?
I spoke to a state's attorney's,
Mm-hmm.
the state's attorney's office, a lawyer there, and that's what he said, and he said it from a different point of view that would be offensive to the normal person. He said, basically let him die. That resource, okay, so they're going to basically take him. He's going to go through rehab. That's thousands of dollars, that because he is homeless or he is,
It's
low
tens of
funds.
thousands of dollars.
Yeah. So, and they're going to go back out and do it again.
Where we need to put our money is the people. We have a program set up for people with handouts. Everybody wants a handout. But we need to have programs set up for people who are doing everything they can to succeed. If a person has a job and they're busting their butt but they just can't financially afford this or that, those people are trying. They deserve assistance. But in today's society, you make too much money, go have another kid.
Right, and that's what he said.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
So what we have to do is create a society where if you want a handout, go get a job. You're not going to get a handout. Because it has to be a cutoff. You can't have handouts for life. Because all you're doing is perpetuating a cycle. That's right. You got 2 years. Here's all the training programs. Go out, learn how to do a job, get trade skills. It's all for free for the next 2 years. Here you're going to get, and after 2 years, here's your cardboard box. Because you have 2 years to get better. And if you can't, then that's your problem. There has to be a point of personal responsibility. It has to be a point where you say enough is enough. You're siphoning off the system, or taxpayers are busting their butt out. Right now, 53% of everybody's busting their butt to work and make a living. And 47% of the people are living off those people. For the first time in U.S. history, Social Security is a pay-as-you-go system. Over the next 5 to 10 years, it's going to be deficient by 38%.
Yeah, I saw that article.
So it's an interesting aspect. So I know we have to wrap it up today, but I can't wait to have another discussion with you on this. There's several things we haven't touched on yet. But, Bianca, I want to thank you so very much for being on the show today.
Definitely.
Let's keep getting into
Thanks
it.
for having me.
Anytime. Have a great day. This show is brought to you by NWIEducate.com.